We're all set, Commissioner.
Good. All right. Welcome to everyone.
Good morning.
We are, welcome to the 26th.
266.
I know, I said, is it 266 or is it in my eyes? 266th MPTC meeting. We are in June, and I am chairing this again, so Joe, you have not done the work. Get somebody to
It's on the record, I apologize. We'll do better next time.
It's not his fault. I'm Rosanna Rosado, Commissioner here at DCJS, and I'll be serving as the interim chair of the council pursuant to the bylaws until a new chair is appointed by the governor. I'm going to ask you all to rise for a pledge of allegiance. The flag is over here today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And please remain standing for a moment of silence for all law enforcement and those who lost their lives serving this country. Thank you, everyone. Be seated. We're going to start with introductions, and I'm going to start to my left. Chief O.
Morning, everyone. Lolo Bay, Chief of Training, NYPD.
Good morning, Bruce McBride, State University of New York.
Good morning. Mike Bonds, Deputy Commissioner for the Office of Public Safety here at DCJS.
Good morning, Johanna Sullivan, Director of the Office of Public Safety, DCJS.
Michael Puckett from the Office of Public Safety.
Molly Bates from the Office of Public Safety.
Joshua Vinehout, also from the Office of Public Safety.
Dee Medina from the Office of Public Safety.
Natasha Harbin-Locklear, DCJS Legal.
Joe Popkin, Executive Deputy Commissioner at DCJS.
Colleen Glavin, Deputy Commissioner and Counsel, DCJS.
Carla DiRienzo, Deputy Superintendent, New York State Police.
Maureen Curtis, Vice President Criminal Justice Programs of Safe Horizon.
Gavin Boyer, Corrections Specialist with Office of Public Safety.
Kara Gordon, OPS, DCJS.
Kevin Fairchild, DCJS, Office of Public Safety.
Tom Mitchell, Counsel for the New York State Sheriff's Association.
Sarah Dean, Office of Public Safety.
Dan Medwell, Office of Public Safety.
Megan Greeny, Office of Public Safety.
Mike Whiteley, Director of Law Enforcement Training for OPPD.
Okay. And we also have Sheriff Tulun is on participating virtually. Can we check that he can hear us?
Hi, good morning. Sheriff Tulun from Suffolk County.
Welcome. And also we have on online Dr. Alfred Titus, Director of Training from the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. Can we check that you can hear us?
Morning. Yes, I can hear you.
Wonderful. Anyone else on the phone who I have not mentioned?
Long community member.
Evelyn?
Deborah Long.
Deborah Long. All right, welcome. Okay.
There should be some other individuals on the call as well from NYPD.
Okay. Do we have NYPD on the line as well?
Good morning, Sergeant Patrick Wilkins, NYPD Training Bureau.
Good morning, Sergeant McNally, New York State Police Academy.
Good morning, Lieutenant NYPD.
Okay. All right. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to provide an update on the governor's recent public safety actions and the work that we've been involved in here at DCJS. When we last met, the state budget was being negotiated. Took a little longer this year, but it got done. I'm glad to report that the budget was enacted in April and once again includes record investments to support our public safety and criminal justice partners throughout New York. DCJS is now hard at work on plans to allocate this funding. That funding includes more than $127 million in law enforcement technology and equipment to help prevent and solve crime, which was awarded last month to 378 law enforcement agencies outside of New York City. New York City's taken care of. More than $35 million to enhance police and prosecution efforts to combat domestic violence where it is most prevalent. This nation-leading investment will allow partner agencies to use comprehensive strategies to save lives and hold abusers accountable. And $15 million to organize retail theft through crime analysis and information sharing with the DA's offices and police departments. That collaboration will build upon the crime intelligence resources that New York has developed over the last 15 years and will forge new relationships with businesses to identify theft trends and help authorities solve those crimes. The budget also sustains our gun violence prevention efforts from the GIVE initiative and the Crime Analysis Center Network to Snug Street Outreach and Project Rise. These efforts have driven down shootings by more than 35% this year compared to the 5-year average. These resources allow DCJS to continue to deliver training, tools, and technical assistance needed by our local partners. And we're going to continue to build upon our solutions to keep neighborhoods safe, and we will work to promote trust and confidence in our justice system. For me, it also allows us to be proactive and serve the changing needs of our communities. I look forward to keeping you updated on these efforts and our progress. Well, thank you. And I'll answer any questions that you have. Going once, going twice. All right. I'd like to entertain a motion now to adopt the MPTC 266th meeting agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say aye. Any abstentions? Okay, then hearing that none are opposed, the agenda is approved. Does anybody have edits or comments for the 265th meeting minutes? If not, I will entertain a motion to adopt the MPTC 265th meeting notes.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, hearing that none are opposed, the 265th meeting minutes are approved. All right, we'll now move on to the action items of the agenda. I will turn it over to Mike Puckett, who will present on the updates to the basic course for police officers.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner. We'll be brief. My water size only is going to get me so far here. I've got three amendments to sections of the basic course. They'll be presented individually because of the motions, but they're all, I would categorize them as sort of housekeeping amendments. And so in the penal law section is 3A of the basic course for police officers. There were statutory changes, both in at the end of last year and also contained within the budget bill. The Commissioner spoke about that necessitated some changes to the basic course penal law section because just simply some laws were repealed and some laws were changed. And so the way the learning objectives read in the basic course penal law section, we've got a number of changes. Happy to go into specifics about that, but again, it's just housekeeping, removing laws that were removed from the books, changing laws that were added, and just cleaning up the language for the penal law section.
So Mike, it's mostly references, just references changing.
That's correct. Sorry, the penal law section is unique in the way that the learning objectives are laid out, and that's the only reason we actually are coming to council with this. It would otherwise not be something we would even bring to the council, just very minor modifications to be consistent with the Rape is Rape Act and the budget bill amendments. Answer any questions? More specifics.
With the with 1/2019, and 165, this is all related to the rise of organized retail theft and things of that nature?
That's correct, sir. There were 4 new penal law charges added as part of the budget bill.
Okay.
The penal law section doesn't enumerate every specific penal law offense, but there are some that are more relevant to the working uniform police officer. These are 2 of the 4 that we felt were relevant to those officers, and so we included those, but that's correct. They're part of the budget bill in response to the organized theft.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. I need,
I'll give you a motion here. Sorry.
yes, I need a council member.
Oh, at the end, okay, so I'll present all 3 if that's okay. And
Oh, you do all 3? Okay.
I'll do all 3 and do it that way.
And then we'll
So-
we'll read them all at one time? Okay.
So the second section to be addressed in the penal law, the basic course for police officers is section 7I, dangerous drugs and narcotics. Again, this is just housekeeping, changing terminology that changed with the law changes, and then also removing references to the medical cannabis card, which is no longer a thing. Office of Cannabis Management has told us that's no longer being utilized. And so we removed the learning objectives specific to that, and the other ones were just modified, changing marijuana to cannabis where it was appeared in the learning objectives, and it's really just housekeeping. No substantive changes there.
Okay. So I now need a council member willing to make a motion by reading the
I think it's one more.
3 motions. Oh,
more.
that was in third? I thought that was 2 and 3. The language and the.
I'm quick, I'm not that quick.
The
So I
marijuana,
got,
the cannabis.
one more, but this is equally just administrative in terms of the changes here. It's basic crash management and reporting in section 7F, the basic course for police officers. The Department of Motor Vehicles is set to launch a new police accident report. It's currently titled MV-104A. The new version will be the MV-104P. And there's one section, one learning objective that references the MV-104A. We're simply changing the language to 104P. The substance of the lesson does not change. However, we are going to include in the appendix to the information the MV-104P and the new DMV Form 33, which explains to police officers how to complete the new MV-104P. So that'll be included as part of the appendix. But the learning objectives change just simply changes an A to a P.
Why'd they jump from A to P?
So good question. A was, I don't know why that was originally there, but the P is for police. So police accident. I had the same question.
I was like, they skipped a whole lot of letters there.
Look forward to the next one. Incidentally, the new report has a lot of, just new features that autonomous driving and things like that that are not accounted for in the current form.
Cool.
Okay, so back to the motions here. Here's the motion for the Part 3A section for the penal law.
You read the motion.
Updates to penal law offenses, Part 3, Section A, as the minimum standard of instruction in the basic course for police officers or equivalent, the basic course for peace officers, the campus public safety officer course, and the specialized investigator course. All employers and academies conducting these courses beginning on or after September 1, 2024 must utilize the newly approved curriculum.
Should we do all 3, read all 3 and then vote, or vote individually?
Let's do them separately.
Separately? Okay. So, do I have a motion?
Moved.
For this one. Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none opposed, the motion has been approved. The second one?
Approve updates to narcotics and dangerous drugs, Part 7, Section 1, as the minimum standard of instruction in the basic course for police officers or equivalent, the campus public safety officer course, and the specialized investigator course. All employers and academies conducting these courses beginning on or after September 1, 2024 must utilize the newly approved curriculum.
Great. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Wonderful. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye. Hearing none opposed, that motion has been approved. We move on to number 3.
Approve updates to basic crash management and reporting, Part 7, Section F, as the minimum standard of instruction in the basic course for police officers or equivalent, and the Campus Public Safety Officer course. All employers and academies conducting these courses beginning on or after September 1, 2024 must utilize the newly approved curriculum.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye. Hearing none opposed, the motion has been approved. All right. And we move on to the next part of our program, Sexual Offense Evidence Kit Model Policy Update. And I'm going to turn it over to Josh for that.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good morning again, members of the council. I had emailed the council members the Sexual Offense Evidence Kit Model Policy ahead of the meeting to just highlight a minor change to the model policy. But before I get into that minor change, I just want to give the council just a brief, promise it'll be brief, development and update timeline of the model policy. So it was back in June of 2015 that the council requested the Office of Public Safety to examine best practices for processing of sexual offense evidence kits. And at that time, there was a national concern in regards to a backlog of kits being processed. So the Office of Public Safety worked in collaboration with key stakeholders in the development of a model policy, and then came back to the council in December of that year with a proposed model policy, at which that time the council adopted the Sexual Offense Evidence Kits model policy in December of 2015. Fast forward now to March of 2017, there were subsequent updates to that model policy that were based on changes to the executive law. Specifically, the legislative branch issued timelines in terms of processing the backlog of kits and how to handle the kits that are newly received by law enforcement. So we updated the model policy and presented to the council in 2017 to reflect the timelines that were established on the processing of all the backlog kits, as well as any newly received kits. We updated the council to require that as soon as law enforcement received the kit, it had to be submitted to a lab within 10 days. Any drug facilitated kit was to be submitted within 72 hours or as soon as practicable. In addition to that, in June of 2019, there was a further update to the sexual offense evidence kit model policy that now included the sexual assault victim bill of rights that was to be provided to a sexual assault victim. That bill of rights was established, and so we included that within the model policy. And at the same time, there was a new training requirement that was put in place under executive law that required each police agency, a prosecutorial agency, and any other law enforcement agency for that matter to have at least one person trained in a trauma-informed victim response, specifically for handling sexual assault cases. And the DCGS was charged with establishing the minimum training standards of what that training would look like. And we presented that to the council, and the council adopted that as well as an endorsement of those training standards. So in June 2019, we updated the model policy to include those new training standards, to include language that at least one personnel from a law enforcement agency and from the prosecutor's office needs to have someone trained in trauma-informed victim response. We updated also the model policy to include bill language that specifically stated what type of, what information of the results, if there's a DNA or a CODIS hit, that was to be provided to the victim, and the contact of the trained individual too, the information of of the trained individual within the police department or within the prosecutor's office. That contact information was to be provided to the victim as well, so they can have that back and forth conversation with law enforcement to ensure that, any questions and anything related to the results that are being provided to the victim, the ongoing investigation, they had a contact to reach out and inquire about the case and the status of it. So those were the updates to the model policy. Now we're in 2024, and there's some new updates that we're proposing. And those updates are based on the Office of Victim Services being the designated agency that is to store untested kits. They have a facility where untested kits are to be stored for up to 20 years unless the victim asks the OVS to release those, the materials and the kits back to the victim, or if they choose to initiate an investigation. And that update to the model policy was made in section 4, titled Obtaining DNA Evidence via Sexual Offense Evidence Kit Examination. So if you turn to section 4 and then it's letter G, it should be in red font in your policy in the back of your packet. There is no page numbering, but if you follow the outline, section 4G, you'll should see in red font the updates that were made to the model policy to be consistent. So as I stated, the Office of Victim Services is now the designated storage facility of all unreported kits to be maintained up to 20 years. There's a process if the victim decides to initiate a law enforcement investigation. There's a process that OVS requires to release those kits for law enforcement to take criminal justice action. And that process is for the victim to sign a consent form that is sent to OVS, and then OVS would then contact the law enforcement agency to authorize the release of the kit, and law enforcement would then be given the designation of that facility where to go pick up the kit and then initiate the law enforcement investigation. So that is what was updated in the subsection 4 here, obtaining DNA by sexual offense evidence kit examination. And also within the footnotes, there is a link that will provide law enforcement with a frequently asked question section as far as if a victim comes, what do I do? What's the process? I provide them the consent form. It has the link to obtain the consent form, and it explains the process in which that form needs to be submitted by the victim to OVS for the release of the stored evidence kit. We will, if the council adopts these amendments, we will then send a memo out to law enforcement agencies advising them of the update to the model policy, specifically addressing the storage facility and the use of the consent form. And we'll work with OVS to ensure that that is communicated to law enforcement personnel of the changes to the model policy and specifically the storage facility. Any questions regarding this change? I know it's fairly minor, but it's also important as well.
I'm just curious, in the process where the survivor decides to have the evidence destroyed or take it back themselves, is there somebody like an advocate that explores with them what that could mean for potential investigation in the future? Because I would imagine it would impact the chain of evidence. I know destroying it, of course, you have no more evidence, but if, if the survivor wants to take it back.
Right, so I would say that was probably a question better suited for OVS when they receive the consent form and a victim is asking to either destroy the evidence or receive any additional, materials that are related to the kit back. I think that would be OVS would handle that process.
Maureen, that's a really good point. I'll make sure that we reach out to them and get back. I would imagine, knowing their involvement and their commitment to this issue and their victim focus, that they do. But without, as Josh said, we've got to get from them. But I'll make sure we get back to you on that and connect you up with the person involved in that to make sure that part of it.
I know, so I have to say, I feel like we're in good hands.
I feel like we're in good hands with B at the helm there, and that. But we'll follow up and make sure we get back to you on that. Thank you. Okay.
Any questions for Josh? You ready to move to?
Sure.
Absolutely. Adopt the amendments made to the MPTC Sexual Offense Evidence Kit Model Policy as presented by OPS.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye. Hearing none opposed, the motion has been approved. Thank you. All right. We will now move to onto the informational items of the agenda. I'm going to ask Natasha to provide the council an update on the pending regulations.
So I have good news, finally.
Yay!
Way back when, the MPTC adopted regulations pertaining to in-person death notifications. They were finally approved by the governor, and they are in effect as of April 3rd, 2024. So we're good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you get a chair for this?
How long did it take? What's the over-under?
All right. Our next, I'm just teasing. Joe is doing the best he can. And we're moving along to our next item is the tracks training and equipment for law enforcement academies, and we will hear from Mike Puckett on this item.
Previously briefed the council on a plan to utilize the New York State Police the office within the state police that supports tracks for the 500+ police agencies in the state that utilize tracks to work with academies that are prepared to utilize the service to integrate the tracks program, to provide them with access to the program, like a training environment outside of the normal tracks environment where paperwork will be forwarded to the court and whatnot, so that they can further contextualize law enforcement training. The same gentleman at the state police, Tech Sergeant Hedges, who could not be here today, but I promised him I'd be able to handle this, and maybe any questions I might refer to him. He's got recurring grant funding annually from the GTSC, who funds his program and some of our work. And this is how I met Sergeant Hedges, and he has a desire to not only support the academies with tracks in software, but also to purchase laptops for academies to load the programs onto. A police officer's job is highly reliant upon computers these days. In-car computers are kind of like inseparable from police officers and the type of the work that they do. And in order to effectively train police officers to do their job, we really do need to have laptops and the software they'll be using in the field. The plan is for the current fiscal year, he will utilize that funding to buy laptops for the state police and to create essentially mobile computer labs. Each recruit would be issued a laptop, and then in fiscal year, so this is federal fiscal year 25, 26, would begin purchasing laptops for the MPTC academies. And so we expect this would be a multi-year project in order to get all the academies to have laptops purchased, but he expects the grant funding to be reoccurring long enough that we could at least initially purchase laptops for each police recruit in every police academy, which would be really game-changing for us in terms of our ability to contextualize a learning environment for the police recruit. And really, we understand that really is the key to developing operational police officers on the back end of the academy. So we look forward to that funding being available, and to working with Sergeant Hedges and the state police in rolling this program out. And we'll figure out how to roll those out and prioritize academies, and how to not do it in a piecemeal fashion the best we can come late 2025. But I wanted to make the council aware of that. It's just an example of, we have a great relationship with the state police. We have for quite some time, and this is going to benefit MPTC academies significantly. happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. And again, if there's technical aspects, I'm going to have to defer to Sergeant Hedges.
I'll ask him tough ones just.
Michael, are the, I'll just say it. I know some academies are tech savvy and,
Sure.
and some are not.
Sure.
And so what would we do with the MPTC academies that are not, and we have part-time schools? I mean, I'm looking miles ahead.
Great question, sir. We've talked about some of the factors in terms of prioritizing where these laptops may go initially. We've talked about some of the factors, IT ability, but also desire to cooperate, right? So some, for instance, SUNYs that have police academies have their own IT infrastructure and personnel.
Right.
If they were to come to us and say, "Hey, we're ready for this. We support this. We're gonna dedicate personnel to this," well, that'd be an easy decision to make. To say, "Yeah, let's prioritize this academy." If an academy comes to us and says, "Hey, listen, our IT folks are really hesitant to this. They say they need another budget line and things like that," well, maybe they go to the back of the line just from a programmatic standpoint. Sergeant Hedges has a staff within his office that does do IT support. They can do a lot of this remotely, and so has the ability to offer some tech support, but that will be a factor in where we prioritize the first. It'll be a number of fiscal years, federal fiscal years. This will take place. So it'll be a factor in where we go first, sir.
Okay.
More questions? Thank you, Mike. And next, we're going to move to Molly Bates to provide the council with an update on the status of the basic course for correction officers update.
Good morning, Commissioner and council members. At the end of last year, you were briefed on the expansion of the Office of Public Safety's training unit to now include dedicated staff for local corrections training. And their first big project is going to be a complete redesign of the basic course for corrections officers. It's been a significant number of years since we've even looked at basic corrections training, with the exception of recently updated topics such as defensive tactics and use of force, which were updated just to align with our foundational changes incorporated into the basic peace and police officer training. So we're going to be working with staff and the corrections community to update the basic course to ensure that it meets the needs of the new officer as well as the employing agencies. To best determine the core knowledge, skills, and tasks of a corrections officer, OPS will be conducting a job task analysis as the first step to the update process. The JTA will provide an analysis of the pertinent and core tasks of the officer as well as suggested training objectives. Where we are now is we've currently identified a potential vendor to conduct the JTA. The vendor has corrections-specific experience and has worked with a number of states around the country and is currently working with neighboring states to New York on similar projects. Simultaneously, we will be assembling an advisory panel of corrections professionals to assist with the JTA survey development and the eventual training materials. And with the assistance of the Sheriff's Association, we have received interest from a significant number of agencies and staff willing to participate on the panel. So we will be selecting members based on the facility size that they're from, as well as geographic region, to ensure we have the appropriate representation, as well as seeking representatives from New York City Docs, and the State Commission of Corrections. And we're hoping to contact them within the next few weeks. We're drafting letters to go out to those agencies. To allow the vendor time to prepare and finish current projects that they are working on, the goal is to begin the JTA in September and have potential results at the very end of the year or very early of 2025. So before I open up to questions, I'd like to introduce and acknowledge Gavin. Gavin introduced himself earlier. He started with us a few months ago as our corrections unit program manager. He came to us with over 10 years of corrections experience, and most recently as his agency training director. He basically came in and hit the ground running. He's a tremendous asset to our unit, and he's been instrumental in the research and selection of the JTA vendor, communicating the redevelopment process with the corrections community, and sharing his experience and knowledge with us. So thank you, Gavin. And you'll be hearing more from him as this project continues. So any questions?
When was the last time we updated the basic course for correctional officers?
DCJS, well, the MPTC was statutorily required to take over the basic training in 2008 due to changes in executive law, and we really haven't had the dedicated staff to look at it. So
now we do.
Now we do.
Awesome.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions for Molly? Well, thank you. Next, I must ask, is there any new business the council members would like to bring up for discussion?
Could I ask a question?
Of course.
Okay. We had a
Always.
lengthy presentation at our last meeting from the folks in Arizona, the health metrics. And could you give us an update? Is that moving along?
Sure. So, at the council's approval to move forward with phase 2, yeah, I'm working with the consultant right now to receive his proposal for phase 2, and then I'll need to work with legal and funding to put the contract in place and the funding requirements to make sure they're all in place before we can hit the ground running. So hopefully by my goal would be by the end of the year we're up and running for phase 2.
Okay. And then we also had a lengthy discussion with regards to firearms instructors, and extensions was made to for some zones to September. And we're moving along on that. And
Yes, sir. So we've got zones 1 through 3 with the requirement September 1st. We've got a Nassau County Firearms Instructor Workshop scheduled. Prioritization for attendances, Suffolk and Nassau County will certainly be able to completely take care of all of their firearms cadre. NYPD is currently running in-house firearms instructor workshops to meet the need. And we are working with other academies to get folks spun up. We've got in addition to the Nassau County, we've got 3 recently announced firearms instructor workshops. We've got a pilot currently running in Onondaga. We've got an Albany pilot late July, early August for the firearms instructor pilot, which may have a different name when it comes to the council, but it's a pistol instructor course at this point. So we're making progress. We're working our way around the state. We're trying to meet the needs, and we have some underserved areas geographically in the state. We're trying to prioritize those folks right now.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Anybody else new items? Going once? Twice? All right. If there are no new items, I must inform you that the next meeting is scheduled for September 12th. There is a change on September 12th. We're meeting at 1:30. We're gonna have lunch at 12 with the MPTC and the LEAC in appreciation of all of your service and for members of both councils to meet each other. So that's the schedule for September. So we'll have lunch and then we'll come in and we'll make sure that lunch doesn't weigh us down, because we do have an aggressive agenda so far, an ambitious agenda for September. So that's the change, and I'm sure we'll keep reminding you about that change for September. With no new or further business to discuss, I can entertain a motion to close. Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye. If none, then the meeting is adjourned. Then thank you all for attendance, and let Gabe know that's the metric for tomorrow. We ended at 10:40. Thank you so much.
I know.
No pressure. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Yes,